Aloha mai kako. This is Maile Ayu Domingo with Hamaui Local Foundation and the Music Within. And just checking the music within all of you, talking about the idea of Eros and the Eros of our urge to seek out the good, the true, and the beautiful. That's Eros in and through our bodies, right? So that could mean the most beautiful sunset, the most beautiful woman, the most amazing orchestra, the most precious cry. Even I know people who can decipher the birds in the forest and they just seek that out to the utmost pleasures of the senses, the most beautiful fragranced flowers or perfumes. And you know those guys that work at Bloomingdale's and they can tell what perfume you're wearing just because they've trained their nose? Like, talk about Eros and such an amazing skill set. And then of course most of us are familiar with Eros in terms of the erotic expressions of love between a man and a woman. And I just want to claim the beauty of that word Eros. It's a Greek word, and originally it was the seeking out of the true, the good, and the beautiful. But because we are fallen man, oftentimes it gets stuck on the selfish plane of seeking out the good, the true, and the beautiful. And so we were talking about how we fulfill these areas of our life of desire. And for some of us who are afraid for XYZ reasons, right? I don't need to name them, but you can name, 30,000 dozen reasons why we squash our desire. We hide it, we bury it, we stuff it, right? We pretend like it doesn't exist. We call those people stoic. I don't want, I don't need to ask, I don't want to ask, and I'm not supposed to ask. Stoic people, I know that kind very well. And that's not a discipline. Like, there is a discipline that says, okay, I don't need to have this right now, but you still can delight in the gift of the senses of the body, right? Whether it's ice cream or a bouquet of roses, you can still delight in that. But a Stoic will say, I don't need any of them, and they don't delight me. And then there's the other area of the addict who wants to indulge in every area of gratification, and not for the sake of anything other than a momentary selfish gratification. It doesn't have anything to do with delighting in the creator and the gifts of creation, or even the gifts of your body to delight in those things. It's indulging to a not good degree, to a degree that isn't dignified. But someone who can recognize that there are gifts that the body is meant to delight in, and that we can receive those gifts in absolute appreciation and adoration, those are the mystics. And I think we're challenged to learn from the mystics and maybe imitate them in the tiny way in the journey of our life. But along all of those patterns, there's a sense of not being satisfied. And Christopher West calls that the ache. John Paul II, in his work Theology of the Body, calls that the ache. And I think that the ache for me points back to the beginning, before Adam even had Eve, right? Because he was alone and he was trying to figure out who he was and what he wanted. And as he observed all the creation of the earth, he realized that he was different than all of creation. He wasn't like them. And he also realized that he wanted something more than all creation had to offer him. I think that's an amazing place to be in such self-discovery that you recognize that. And I think for all of us, we have to go through that same journey. we have to identify the ache, right? I want more of that. I want more of that communion. I want more of that satisfaction. Not for the sake of gratification, however, but for the sake of discovering who we are and the gifts we've been given in enjoying those ecstasies, right? So I think it's coming from two places, and I want to invite those of you who may be kind of stuck in the ache of, like, I just ate that 2-scoop ice cream cone and I want another one. There's an ache there. And I think that, to me, it points back to the beginning, before Adam even knew what he wanted, but he knew he wanted something more. It was, John Paul II calls it solitude, right? Original man's solitude. And even though we are not that original man, we are historical man, which means we have fallen, right? We've fallen from grace. We have weaknesses and selfishnesses in us that we have to battle. But what is really beautiful is we can still go back to that same solitude of wondering, who am I? And what is this desire that causes me to want more? And I think two things that are good that can come from that. One, we can get used to the ache inside, the burn, that you're not going to be satisfied and that you'll still survive. You're not going to die. But the other part is that, what can I do to exact purpose in my life so that I can execute and define my own intentional purpose? What can I do to execute my life so as to execute my purpose? And sometimes sitting in that ache, just figuring out, gosh, who am I and what am I going to do to try to fulfill not the ache, but my purpose, right? I think sometimes the Stoic says, well, I don't want anything more. I'm okay. I'll just stay right here, stuck in a rut. And I think the addict wants to be gratified in the moment. But I think the mystic, today's mystic, can have intentional purpose for executing his or her life's mission. And sometimes I don't think you can find that until you sit with the ache and you ask yourself, you have a conversation with your maker. What am I here for? What am I created for? What is my purpose in life? And how do I choose in such a way to exact that purpose? Eros, the erotic pursuit of all things that are good, true, and beautiful. Eros, what are you pursuing? And how can you pursue that in such a way so as to bring you happiness, right? What a great question. Man is alone. This is to say that through his own humanity, through what he is at the same time set into a unique, exclusive, and unrepeatable relationship with God. Unrepeatable relationship with God. Whoa. I like that. It makes me not want to desire the momentary gratification. But if my relationship with him is unrepeatable, even though there's 7+ billion people in the world, that means that my relationship with with Him matters. And what I constitute my life to be and to become matters, not only to me, but to Him. Those are the kind of questions you can ask yourself while sitting in solitude. Solitude is such a great place to listen, but I think it's also a great place to experience purifications of your desires. And yeah, I think I'll just leave that with you. Sit with your desires, sit with your ache. Find out if it's coming from a place of stoicness. I don't need, I don't want, I don't need to ask. Or if the ache is coming from a place of addiction, where you're only looking for the moment's gratification. Or is your ache coming from a place of mystical consideration of who you are, who you're meant to be, and what you have to offer the world? You are unrepeatable. Enjoy delving into that thought. This is Maile Ayu Domingo with Hamawi Local Foundation and the music within. Aloha.